I wanted to share a testimony with you all. I have authored 27 books. That's part of what our ministry is writing and producing books. And we have a lot of children's books. That's kind of our heart and passion. And we've translated some, and we've sent some to Africa, to the Philippines, and in the United States, just numerous places. And it's such a blessing. But I really struggled and trying to wrap my head around that I was called to be an author when this all first kind of started coming to be, when the Lord had told me. And you know, it's amazing. I was probably in my mid-30s when I finally recognized and accepted that He was telling me that I was an author. It took that long for me to even just recognize that. And you know, the Holy Spirit started taking me back and looking back in my life and showing me how that had always been there, but I hadn't been able to receive it or accept it. I had forgotten that in second grade, I had run a writing competition in my classroom. I had forgotten that. Then when I was in Bible school, the Lord had showed me the title of a book with my name on it, and that I had written a book and it was my testimony. There are all these things that he was sending, and I wasn't ready to receive it. I wasn't ready to receive that calling. But when I did, it was so easy. You know, His yoke is easy and His burden is light. But part of what I wanted to share today is He gave me 3 different books, and they were all after I was obedient to something that He had me do. So the first one is called Filled with Laughter, and it's got 5 little stories combined in one. It's available on Amazon. It's a children's book. And my daughter's school, she was in second grade, and the teacher had asked me to come in. I had a couple books out at this time, and she'd asked me to come and talk to her kids about writing and publishing. And I was petrified. I do not like speaking in front of people. It has been something that the Lord has really worked with me greatly. It was kind of a thing where He was like, do you love me? If you love me, you'll do this. And so how could I say no? Because yes, I do. And so the more you do it, the easier it gets. But I was petrified. I don't know why. They're beautiful second graders. They weren't going to do anything to me, but it's scary. And so I did it. I had to pray and I had to have a lot of help from Him, but I did it. And after I did, I came home and it went great. It was so easy. I loved it. The kids were just beautiful. He gave me that story filled with laughter and told me, if you hadn't have been obedient and if you hadn't have done that, you couldn't have received this book from me. So that was the first one. Then probably about a year later, or within the same year, my husband and I knew that we were supposed to help a gentleman who was doing revival meetings every Friday night. We were just supposed to help him. And for 2 years, we went and we helped him, and it was incredible. Excuse me. And during that time, while we were being obedient, while we were doing what the Lord had called us to do, sitting one Friday night in the service, He gave me this book. This is Maggie the Church Mouse. And it's a story about revival. And I was doing what He told me to do, helping another ministry with their revival work. And He gave me this book. And that was the second time He said, because you were obedient and because you were where I told you to be, doing what I told you to do, now I'm going to give you this. But you know, it's not just about, ooh, God gave me a story. All of our work, all of the things that we do are fulfilling the Great Commission. They're a part of what we're called to do. And there's these things that are laid up for us. When we obey God, there's gifts and things that are there. But until we step out, until we obey, they don't become available to us. I can't just sit at home and go, I'm an author, thank you, Jesus, I'm an author, and write. Because I'm called to go places and do what He's called me to do and be where He's put me to be. And these are blessings then that come to then turn around and do His work, do for Him, fulfill the Great Commission. And then I have a third book. This one just recently, it just came out. It's called Hannah's Easter Discovery. And I had started writing this book, but I hadn't been able to finish it for 2 years. I've been struggling. It's just not right. It's just not right. And I knew that I was supposed to do a Christian story time. And the Lord just miraculously, divinely opened the doors, led us to the right place at the right time, to our church that had a need, had an opening. It was all his hand. And so I was able to start a Christian story time there for children. And Easter falls during that cycle of meetings. They're once a month. And so I knew it was his leading. I knew I was supposed to sign up and do that. When I did, then the rest of that story was downloaded to me, and I was able to complete it and finish that story. And what's so wonderful is that God had connected me to another friend who has a hobby of rabbits. And so now we're going to be able to do this Easter story time with the children, with this new story that God has given me that was something that I'd been wanting to finish. I wanted a story on a rabbit story. And so I'd asked him for it. But once again, I had to obey him. And then that came. And she has live rabbits. So I'm going to be able to read the story with the children and then have live rabbits there. And, I don't know. Maybe some of you are like, well, what's so neat about that? Well, I don't know. It's just special and important to me. And it's just a testimony of God cares about what we care about. Even when there's a story that I was struggling to write, I wanted a story about a rabbit. So he gave it to me. The other two were just his blessing for my obedience. And he continues to do things when I stretch and do something out of my comfort zone for him, because that's what he's asking me to. There's a reward for it. And so I look at these books like that. They're rewards and gifts to me from him, because I stretched and I did what he asked me to do. And he wants to do that in your life. But until you step out, until you're willing, until you're obedient, those things are there and they're waiting for you. It doesn't have to be a book. It could be anything. It could be a song. It could be a job. It could be a relationship. It could be a house. I don't know. It could be anything. But God so honors and values willingness and obedience. And I just am a testimony to that. I didn't want to. Friends, my tongue would swell up. I would shake having to get in front of people and talk to them. And so these are very special badges of honor to me. They're very significant. And if he did it in my life, he can do it in your life. So anyway, that's one of my testimonies. I thank you for joining me. This has been Sergeant Sarah with To Illuminate Ministries.